Hi everybody. I'm only just sort of starting to formulate my ideas together to put into writing in my thesis. So all I have is some sort of ideas to throw around that I hope will maybe work into discussions later on. If not, I'm sure I'll take plenty from other people. My current research is an investigation into the impact of digital film distribution upon UK audiences and censorship policies. I'm using focus on Ordeal cinema, which I'll go into in a second. Produced or made in Eastern Europe to explore the ways in which file sharing and video on demand shape British consumption of these films, and how this affects the operationalisation of the British Board of Film Classification policy in the adult category. My project takes a tripartite, partially ethnographic approach and involves some participation in both private and public term communities, complemented by archival research within the BDFC itself, and also some research online with Amazon Instant Video streaming, whatever they're bringing themselves in. The starting point for my research is an investigation into the digital distribution of horror films, specifically Ordeal cinema, from Eastern Europe to the UK. And I'll also be detailing the development and the implementation of BBFC policy in relation to explicitly violent films, which is known as their SSV policy. I'm simultaneously carrying out the ethnographic study with the two file sharing communities, one private and the one open access, and the video on demand platform, which allows me to question the ways in which these users and film fans can and do access content that is in some cases not legitimately available to them. My thesis is drawn together by the application of this theoretical development to specific case studies. These will primarily address the audience reception of the films, which will be understood through discourse analysis, the popularity and availability of the film through streaming media and file sharing networks. My project aims to achieve a more nuanced understanding of the consumption of Eastern European cinema in the UK by illuminating the flow of these films, both at a theatrical, the lack of flow of these films at a theatrical level, and the way they come into the country through digital avenues. Proving that Eastern European popular and genre cinema both exists and is in demand beyond the territorial borders of the country in which it is produced, which is kind of the exact opposite of Miguel's project. The horror genre, specifically the subgenre Ordeal cinema, just for the purposes of clarity, is a term that's commonly used interchangeably with extreme cinema, torture porn, cinema brute, and new brutality, so anything with lots of violence and sex, like sexualized violence and whatnot, depending on the vocation, status, or intention of the person discussing the genre. It lends itself naturally to a study concerned with the distribution of films across physical and metaphorical boundaries. It's an easily exploitable filmic product and was already a large international audience, despite in many cases lacking the distributional and operational benefits of official theatrical release in the UK. A variable range of horror films produced in Eastern Europe are available both legitimately and less so through digital on-demand services and file sharing networks. Using Ordeal cinema serves two purposes without the overbearing influence of cultural anxieties, by which I mean fears characteristic of Eastern Europe but perhaps not shared by the West. This variety of horrific film transcends cultural specificity, playing on fears common to most citizens of the world. Those of loss of power, invasion of personal or physical privacy, pain and death, etc. The terror of being captured, tortured, or subjected to violence and or sexual violence is arguably universal and contemporary. Secondly, like pornography, not only is the horror genre the object of considerable aesthetic criticism, but it's frequently the target of moral panics and calls for censorship, and this makes it an ideal framework for a study concerned with the effects of informal digital distribution in the UK on the UK classification system. Through informal distribution platforms in particular, these films have gained an enthusiastic Western fan base. This is exemplified here by the presence of such films as Paramaroku, Diablo, Sparrow, Nina's Nightmares, Pinprick, and Sorna, which I have more information on for discussion later, amongst others in private online communities in which I'm working. These films are also available on more mainstream sites such as the Pirate Bay, though admittedly slightly less popular. They do offer at least sort of 3-ish seats per film, despite being considerably less well known than others. Within the current climate of constant government rhetoric headlining our obligation to protect children from the threat of the internet, my work questions the role that media piracy plays within the narrative of exposure and harm, and the effect this has on archaic UK institutions struggling to keep up with the rapidly evolving digital world. John Carr wrote in the recent BBFC publication, Behind the Scenes of the BBFC, the internet is a game changer, but it won't change every aspect of the game, which is arguably somewhat true. He continues, it most definitely promises important problems on the periphery, but whether or to what extent that periphery encroaches on and changes the mass market, the centre ground is a moot point. The mainstream of film viewers is not going to develop a taste for an unvarying diet of ultra-violence and weird sex, but around the edges, more of that could become available. The decision to create the Authority for Television on Demand was a recognition of that possibility, end quote. It's interesting that the BBFC pay little heed to the existence of piracy, relegating material available in this way to the periphery. It's fair to suggest that mainstream audiences are unlikely to suddenly demand cinema screen or audio cinema, but the BBFC are remiss to stick their heads in the sand over this issue. It's become clear over the course of conversations and interviews that the institution remains relatively unaware of the extent to which the BBFC's decisions can be responsible for motivating piracy, making refusal to classify somewhat ineffective and redundant. The overarching objective of my research is to dissect their role in relation to a number of specific instances and question how necessary and effective censorship can be at the adult level in the digital age, and how, if at all, the BBFC can remain a relevant actor or key gatekeeper in an era of seemingly ungovernable consumption. Thank you.